Hexen hosts a game world packed to the gills with devious traps, mind-bending puzzles, and very wicked monsters. Hexen's baddies are more than one-sided run-and-chomp automatons. They use shields, they freeze you, they dodge around when you're attacking them. In short, they're brilliant. They sport some truly evil, unique mechanics, and have, in my opinion, the best sprite work of any Doom Engine game. So let's get to know our monstrous chums. Let's appreciate their intricacies. Let's slice them open and see what makes them tick. Ettins. These two-headed monstrosities are the fodder enemy in the world of Hexen. The manual describes them as hateful, twisted beasts, all that's left of the proud legionnaires. They retain just enough of their memory to hate what they have become, and to hate you even more for what you still are. Fortunately for you, they are not particularly skilled foes. An easy baddie to take down individually, these slow, hulking brutes do battle with a great spiked mace, and should they mob you, they won't rest until they've ground you into a fine red paste. As they present themselves in roaming gangs, they're the best candidates to demonstrate the unstoppable power of your deadly fourth weapon, regardless of class. Let fly and see their limbs, guts, and maces fall like bloody confetti. High-tier jibbing candidates. They have a high probability of being spawned into the map to repopulate areas, so you'll be seeing these guys again and again and again. Alongside Centaurs, they will make a hilarious high-pitched yelping noise when injured by the fast-acting repeatable damage of gas clouds from mushrooms and cleric flechettes, and from the Arc of Death's sizzling lightning bolts. Afrits. Referred to as Fire Demon internally, these flaming dudes have a lovely personalized chase function. They will pursue their target while strafing around, which both gives them a heightened sense of agency in their random movement and makes them harder to hit. I love how alive it makes them feel. They have the most satisfying squelch sound as their liquid magma bodies explode with the ferocious force of your attacks. They also have a truly fascinating rest state, which they're woken up from. Afrits sit tightly coiled as a ball of invulnerable rock. When woken, they burst forth in a shower of stone as their exterior crust shatters in a satisfyingly cinematic way. They then soar to the skies and start pelting you with a hail of fireballs. Although they do have a pain sound, a pitiful little yelp, you very rarely hear them use it, as their pain chance is insanely low at a value of 1. When you hear that demonic yiffing, get a lottery ticket. Your luck might be in. Hot tip, if you're after a good time, freeze one when it's in flight. Yummy. Chaos Serpents. Cousins of the nasty fella ridden by old Dingus from Heretic, these big green boys will be a very familiar sight on your trip through the lands of Hexen. Clearly a copy-over of Disparal's sprites with its rider removed, these towering beasts shimmy their way around the levels, shooting out a yellow fireball from a distance, or chomping you if you're foolish enough to get too close. They don't possess much health, so if you're expecting a second face-off with the Heretic monster, you won't be breaking a sweat. But they are far more numerous than you may expect, especially on harder difficulties. Due to their size, they won't generally be found in tight spaces, but any plaza or cliffside will be decked out in these bulgy-eyed boys. Brown Chaos Serpents. There exists a second variety that like to reside in caves and dark places. And suitably for their residents of choice, they have brown skin to blend in and spit out deadly green balls of gas that will seriously crinkle your chainmail. However, this attack has a fire damage type instead of gas, so it won't have you choking and gagging, but it will have you nursing your tattered anus if you aren't quick enough. In fact, this green ball does the same damage as the normal fireball attack of the green Chaos Serpent, with only its appearance changed. I used to think that these guys were stronger than the Green Serpent, like a Baron to a Hell Knight, but no, they inherit all their stats from the normal Chaos Serpent, which is a little disappointing considering that you meet them later in the game when you could likely take a bit more of a beating. Both serpents will explode into great big bloody chunks when killed, regardless of your damage dealt, which which is awesome to see. But I must admit, it would have been cool to have a normal death sequence with their heads being sheared off to roll around on the ground, as well as having the great chunky explosion as an extreme death sequence or something. Centaurs. These guys. The most annoying enemy in the game, ladies and gentlemen. And for one reason. Their flippin' shields. When they go into their pain state, which is very high by the way, they lower their shields for 21 ticks collectively and are invulnerable, reflecting your projectiles right back at you. This makes a mockery of most weapons, so your best bet is to take them out in stages, or if you're lucky, you'll be able to kill them before their pain state kicks in. A strategy I prefer is to gain distance and then fling out flechettes wildly as they race towards you. The cleric's gas flechette will freeze them as a group, but any flavor of green bomb will at least soften them up, so you can tear them down with even basic weapons. If you're a mage, undertake this process, then keep stepping backwards while melting them with your sapphire wand, as the wand's ripper property will hit them all in a line, damaging the lot. Good stuff. Centaurs are especially weak against lightning, which is to say, the mage's Arc of Death. This has a damage factor of 3, so these nasty cloppers will be crippled extra quick if you're the wily wizard. As already mentioned, Centaurs will bust out some funny yelps when sucking down gas or being fried by lightning. Slaughtaurs. Just when you thought Centaurs couldn't be more annoying, in comes the Slaughtor, a tougher, nastier boss version faced later in the game. They might be slower, but they have more hit points, and they shoot out evil blue energy blasts, which will hit you when you least expect it. Due to not having other sprites to differentiate them from normal Centaurs, these guys will have you guessing who you're facing until they blow a sizzling hole in your chest. Ouch. It would be cool if they were like a bronze color or something to register their higher rank, but that would defeat the purpose of their deceit. Wink wink. Wendigos. Easily my favorite monster in Hexen. These guys used to give me the willies. If you jump up on a wall in Guardian of Steel's central area, you might get yourself an early introduction to these guys, with their rasping, guttural growls. Spooky stuff. Glass cannons in an almost literal sense. These cruel beasts of the tundra wastes open their palms to let loose a projectile that explodes into a blast of ice shards, just like the mage's second weapon, which really hurts. And if they kill you, their ice damage type would turn you into a pretty little sculpture to decorate their frozen homes. These chunky boys are slightly faster than most monsters, so they'll close a gap faster than you may expect. And their look and chase states spawn little wisps of steam, giving the impression of a beast that, while made of ice, exudes some sort of heat in their frozen prisons. Unless it's frozen vapor or atomized ice crystals, who can say? Despite having a pain chance of 144, their pain duration lasts one single tick. And as such, they will never flinch, so don't rely on freezing these guys in agony. They're already frozen, baby. Keeping this in mind, they aren't immune to ice damage, and don't take extra damage from fire, as you may expect. Missed opportunity, but it would have made the mage extremely useless against them, I guess, especially as they only occur in Hub 1. Well, except for that secret vivarium level, but that's neither here nor there. One of the nastiest situations you'll encounter these guys in is the evil trap in Guardian of Steel, where you spawn in an icy jail surrounded by them. Have your quartz flasks ready and smash them up. Stalkers. These insidious swamp things are a beautifully cinematic addition to the Hexen bestiary, and they have a wonderful collection of actions that make them hide in their watery homes, hint at their location with the subtle uncoiling of their serpentine tails through the skin of the water, and unleash a spooky jump scare as they leap up in front of you to nibble your bum. The way these exquisite effects are achieved is a combination of map placements, always seen on water flats, and inbuilt monster-specific stuff, such as a flag stopping them from trespassing onto a differently textured part of the floor, essentially staying in their watery holes. They don't have a chase state, and instead have a whole slew of custom states such as hump, walk, and dive to jump to and decide when to attack and when to tease the player by doing their jaws impression, popping up and sliding away. A fairly complex monster by Doom Engine standards, Stalkers are easily my second favourite monster in the game. And though they are fairly weak, you'll soon discover that the innocent dank pool you just jumped into is actually writhing with tons of these slippery monstrosities who all want a piece of that fine player ass. Stalker Bosses. Directly inheriting all the stats from the normal Stalker, these guys have a greater mass and shoot nasty slime balls that let out a great sizzling sound as they travel through the air, scorching you with their acidic properties. Nasty. It's not hard to figure out which serpent is a boss or not due to their relentless slime spewing. So if you come across a giant pool of them like in Wasteland, either avoid them like the plague or let your ranged weapons do the talking, unless you've got a big old pair of balls, in which case just jump in and hack them to pieces. Dark Bishopses. The leaders of the church have been twisted by the evil magic of Korax and the Heresiarches into chanting floating menaces that shoot out tracking strings of spiraling energy. They look so cool when they attack, it's lovely. Yes, they are weak as heck, but these frail monsters have been taught a few tricks by their new masters. They can phase in and out of existence as they travel around. When hurt, they can jump to a blur state, making their position hard to pinpoint, and they'll be randomly strafed around to make you waste your mana. And when they die, they not only look heckin' cool, they explode, damaging anyone nearby, including other bishops. This means that if they're clustered together, you can set off a whole chain reaction of bangin' bishops, cutting their numbers down real quick. Like Afrits, if you freeze these guys mid-air, they'll come crashing down and explode into icy chunks on the ground. Lovely stuff. Reivers. The foulest stench is in the air, the funk of 40,000 years. And grisly ghouls from every tomb are closing in to seal your doom. That's nice, isn't it? That's lovely. Prepare for a thriller night when you encounter these cool floaty corpses in the necropolis. They only ever appear in this map, which is a bit sad, but makes sense. And after you've killed more than 70 of these guys in Necropolis, you won't want to be seeing any more of them ever again. Okay, so listen up. There are free roaming spooks and a buried variety that will be triggered by your presence and will rise up from their graves to give you a slap upside the head. The normal variety is pretty straightforward, but the buried Reaver runs through quite a fun little process. See, their floor clipping is set to their height, and when triggered they start to rise from their graves. Their floor clipping is reduced by 2 every time a Wraith Raise is called, until their clipping reaches 0, and then they adopt the same properties of a normal Reaver and go in for the kill. Yet another visually exciting game mechanic that gives the monsters a far greater degree of believability than if they were just placed in the map to float around. So cool! So damn cool. They shoot nasty fireballs that will have you reaching for the sunscreen in no time and will give you a right pasting if they get within melee range, especially since they appear in such a giant swarm. Let flechettes be your friend, as you'll need to worm your way around the graveyard arena going from tomb to tomb. Leave a trail of green bombs either in your wake if they follow you, or get ready to clear out each section of Necropolis as the monsters rise to greet you. I nearly died in my playthrough of Necropolis, which was most embarrassing. And they will wear your mana down until you're plumb out, and any extra you grab in the tombs will get used up fighting back this undead horde. Either get good with your movement and your artifact usage, or be ready to fight 30 plus Reivers with your basic weapons. Yuck. Pigs. Porculated enemies will still try and give you a fierce nip, despite their horribly hoggified state. There's not much to say about them, really, except they're super easy to kill and are so dang cute. The Death Wyvern. This little beastie is the boss of the hyper-style, and without mouse look, he can be a right SOB to deal with. He spits out a juicy fireball as he moves, and that's cool, but it's how he moves that will really make you waggle your eyebrows appreciatively. Unlike other floaty boys you might have experienced in Doom Engine games, the dragon has a flight path designated to him by things with identifying numbers in the map he's situated in. It's not as simple as slapping him down in any old map and expecting him to act like he does in Hyperstyle. In Hyperstyle, there's an Ettin in the Wyvern arena, which shares his identifying number. This starts his patrol route, and then the rest of the flight path is marked out with a further collection of things with escalating identifying thing numbers. Each thing has the number of 2 other things in its arguments, allowing a greater selection of movement possibilities for the beast. In this patrol circle, he can move from one point to another, not necessarily taking the same route every time. This gives the impression of an advanced monster with a smart movement network. So cool! There's a nice how-to on the Doom Wiki if you're thinking of using one of these babies in your own map, and I suggest you check it out. Regardless of class or weapon used, getting up into almost melee range and firing at him is very effective. Nab the supplied Wings of Wrath and tail him, avoid his fireballs, and dive in for a spray of attacks. Give him space if needed, and head back in for further attacks, slowly nibbling away at him until he crashes down into the lava below and lets you escape. Wish there were more of these used in the game, but there's only so many situations where it would be appropriate, I guess. Heresiarches. Korax's deadly lieutenants are easily the most advanced monster in a Doom Engine game at that point, not counting Korax himself. They're imposing looking, deadly as hell, and possess 4 modes of attack that you'll need to be aware of when you go head-to-head with them. These modes of attack are fairly straightforward. Bouncing lava heads that track the player, a summoning projectile that calls dark bishops when Heresiarch is low on health, a deadly whiplash of purple fireballs, and a field of invulnerability that makes killing him really hard, as it also reflects your projectiles. When you see the Heresiarch draw on the power of his different floating mana cubes, you'll know what attack is about to occur depending on the color of said cubes. Purple signifies the bouncing heads or the purple fireballs, green signifies the summoning of dark bishops, and blue signifies he's about to do the invulnerable fang. If he's going blue, try to break his line of sight and wait for the invuln state to finish so you can continue attacking him. All spells cast are dependent on him seeing you, so hit him with as much damage as you can straight out of the gate before he starts casting. If you're the cleric, that means circle strafe around him and drop all of your flechettes. Get him choking on that giant fart cloud, give him some Wraithverge, and then run away when he starts casting. Hopefully you can stun lock him to death before he can really do anything. The other classes just need to be more patient and spend their time ducking in and out of sight and then going in for multiple attacks. Give it 30 seconds for his invuln shield to die down and then go back in for more damage when you can. Rinse and repeat until he dies. Do not call in a friendly Molitor or it will destroy this strategy and things will spiral out of control quickly if there are too many targets for the Heresiarch. He will just keep casting spells over and over again, made even more protracted by the Molitor's sizable health pool. Interestingly, it's not the Heresiarch that casts the spells, technically. It's actually the floating mana balls themselves. This means that even if he's frozen in a pain state, an attack can still occur, giving him an unfair advantage. When he dies, these mana balls fall to the ground and explode, doing a fair bit of damage, so watch out. Zedek, Traductus, and Menelkir. The Marshal of the Legion, the Grand Patriarch of the Church, and the Archmage of the Arcanum. The class bosses are slippery customers due to their very high speed. They can get up behind you before you know it and give you a fierce whack with their spicy 4th weapon. You're no longer the only dude in Hexen with access to Quietus, Wraithverge, and Bloodscourge. Due to their fast chase actions, they will speed towards you while erratically strafing left or right, making them hard to hit and likely wasting your mana. Each class boss has the same health, 800, and the same speed, 25, giving the player a real challenge. But if you still find them to be a massive pushover, you can heighten that challenge by playing co-op. Co-op enables a C-state action called Class Boss Health, which multiplies their health by 5, taking their HP from 800 to 4,000. This would seriously crank up the challenge level to a greater degree. Otherwise, imagine fighting a class boss with a handful of players, each with their own 4th weapon primed. It would be a bloodbath. The class bosses are otherwise fairly straightforward. They fire the projectiles from your own 4th weapon, and depending on their arenas, can either be a piece of cake or make you have a bit of a sweat. I personally find Zedek and Traductus pretty damn easy, especially if you just spam your best weapon straight away before they can start attacking in earnest. But Menelkir has an arena perfectly suited to his Blood Scourge weapon, I find. As the projectile from the weapon tracks onto his target, I always seem to get hit, no matter how carefully I play. Also, unlike the player mage, Menelkir is incredibly quick and agile. Such cool bad guys. If, or when, I make my own Hexen chapter, I'll definitely use these class bosses as heavy tier normal enemies, as if you're equipped to deal with them appropriately, they make worthy group adversaries, and can create quite a chaotic battle environment. Nice. Korax. Big boss time. And he's pretty easy. Well, he is for me these days, but he used to be very, very hard indeed. Scum saving was the order of the day previously, but no more, I tell you, no more. As evidenced in my walkthrough video, he can either be easily wiped out before the second room monsters are even released. So let's have a look-see. Korax has the same health as a Heresiarch, which is pretty crazy. You'd think the big bad monster would at least be twice as strong potentially, but his fight is spread over 2 big rooms and he teleports around, aided by cupboards of monsters to distract you, and the confrontation does get stretched out, so it's fine. Essentially, make use of all the artifacts you have. Quartz flasks for health, craters for mana refill, icons for invulnerability, porculators, discs, flechettes, the works. You can't take them with you, and this is the last level, so go all out. Fighting Korax essentially boils down to: number 1, keep injuring Korax. 2, he will transform the rooms into malevolent architecture with the bolt of lightning. 3, when he takes enough damage, he will teleport away and release caged monsters to attack you. You will gain access to the second room, and the process begins again. Continue attacking ceaselessly, and he will die. You win. His various attacks and level alterations are: Korax will pelt you with a 6-shot of projectiles, 1 from each hand, as a basic attack. Not too nasty, but don't cop all 6 at once, or you're toast. He'll turn the floor to lava. Giant stakes will shoot up from the ground. He will summon earthquakes and ghost versions of Ettins, Centaurs, and Chaos Serpents. They're only ever seen here as far as I know, and function just like their normal monster counterparts, except they're spooky. He would teleport around constantly while shooting stuff at you. And that's about it. Once he dies, his guts will spill open, lit eerily from within, and a bunch of ghosts shoot out. They won't target you, but they will attack you if you get too close. So when he dies, just get a bit of distance. There's one thing in particular you need to be aware of, so you don't experience a soft lock when fighting Korax. First off, don't immediately pelt Korax too harshly. You'll likely want to show off all you've learned so far, and put him in his place ASAP. But if he gets stuck in a constant pain state from gas flechettes or Wraithverge ghosts, he'll just die. He needs to enter his walk state once he's hurt enough, and then he'll teleport away to trigger the next stage of the fight. If he doesn't get to enter his walk state due to being frozen in pain, the trigger won't fire, the second room won't open, the teleporter to the exit won't be accessible, and you're stuck. Brilliant monster design, but hey, don't be too rough or you'll be trapped in his waiting room forever. And there you have it, the Hexen bestiary summarized with some handy hints thrown into the mix. I love these creatures so much, more so than any other Doom Engine monsters. I love them for their advanced behaviors, their sprites, their sounds, even for how bloody annoying they can be. My mission now? Ride out into the vast wilderness of Hexen Peawads and see how non-Raven mappers have been using these cool beasties. And to also finally pull my finger out and use them myself. Custom Hexen episode coming 2025? ? Thanks very much for watching. Oh, one last thing. Go play Hexen. It's bloody good. And tell Korax Eduardo sent ya. Wink.
Eduardo and Friends.